Hey guys, Ryan here from Indy Wrestling School, and today we're doing a watch-along of one of my shows coming up. Hey guys, thanks for checking out this video. If you're new here, please consider subscribing below. We put out new videos every single Thursday for 3 Minute Thursday. Now, I normally call this 3 Minute Thursday. This one's going to be quite longer. It's going to be closer to 30 Minute Thursday. Probably a little bit longer than that. So this is kind of a deep cut for people who are fans of this channel. It's something that I've been asked about a lot to kind of do like a watch-along of one of our shows. But rather than just do a watch-along of one of our regular shows, I figured I would do a watch-along of a show that nobody's ever seen. So for the past couple of years, my friends and I have all put together this show, and I'll get into the details of the entire concept later on, but it's never been seen by the public. It's always just something we've done for fun, and we've had a number of names. Shane Douglas, who's in this video, Justin Credible, Tito Santana's worked it, Kevin Sullivan. So we've had a number of people inside the industry be a part of this show, and it's always a lot of fun. And the idea is we do it, and then we air it on Thanksgiving just for the people who took place in the event, so it's never available to the public. So for the first time ever, I'm going to show that here, and we're going to kind of do a deep dive into what went on and how I produce a match like this and how I put it all together. So we're going to go ahead and cut to the video, and we'll go ahead and discuss everything. So the first thing you'll kind of notice here is this is kind of a bit overdone here with the drone shot and everything like that, and that's intentional, right? So what we're doing with this event is we're really trying to make it over the top. It's sort of become like we are pretending that this is this prestigious event, not unlike a WrestleMania or something like that. And the idea is that there's certain people in this match who take it way too seriously. So I don't know if I'll have the music on while you guys are watching this, but it's got this very symphonic music. So you're walking through the woods. That's what we use as the coal miner's glove. And then if you walk through, there's just more like artifacts from Turkey Bowl history, a blown up turkey for what is called the turkey on a pole match. And if you're picking up on it, it's essentially we're doing a parody of pro wrestling here. Some of the gimmick matches that you've seen over the years, Judy Bagwell on a pole and all these different things that have taken place over the years. And we're kind of making light of them and poking fun at them. Again, this is not something that's meant to be seen by the general population. So, in my opinion, it's okay to sort of make light of wrestling and have fun with it. And not that it's not okay to do that anyway. I mean, you can certainly have a good time with pro wrestling at all times. And there's Kyle the Beast. We saw Mike Law before then. This is a buddy of mine, Travis Lee. He's the guy specifically who I talked about taking it way too seriously. The history for him is he has won this event 4 times. And this is the 10th Turkey Bowl. You see the logo there. Turkey Bowl 10. 10 turkeys in the makings. This guy right here, the one dressed like a peacock, he actually made those shirts for everybody for free. And ironically, a lot of the the ink was coming off. I guess it was those iron-on transfers, and a lot of the wrestlers were complaining, which is ironic because it was a free gift that he didn't need to make for everybody, but of course, wrestlers are natural born complainers. At least in our instance, we have a couple complainers on the roster. We just saw Greg Spitz. This is Chris Rockwell, a guy I've used heavily over the last couple years. Mr. Ulala, a legend on the independents. One of my favorite guys to work with. And these guys, I don't know if you noticed, but there's kind of a filter over this. So this is not what the actual match will look like. It's to give it that fall sort of effect. That was Kyle the Regular, as opposed to Kyle the Beast. And, everybody's kind of... Some people are taking their promos really serious. Some people are making a joke of it. John Finnegan, legendary referee from ECW. It's a wrestler named Jihad here. I like the eyes. I thought that was a cool touch. This is actually the last time I saw him. And there's L.A. Vin, a legend in the industry. Sam Shields, who found that prop and would not put it down. There's Rockwell using my phone, pretending to get text messages. So again, this was all done lighthearted and fun, just for a sort of an opening, in the much akin to, I guess, the early WWF pay-per-views, right? You would have everybody kind of get in the face of the camera and kind of say their little piece on what Thanksgiving meant to them. In this case, we expanded it a bit. It's not just Thanksgiving, it was what the Turkey Bowl meant to them, and there you go. Last year's winner. So this was filmed in 2019, November of 2019, and the year prior, in 2018, Shane Douglas had actually won the Turkey Bowl. And again, nobody ever sees this. So, as you can imagine, some names are expensive, some are cheaper, and everything like that. And Shane is very reasonable and worthwhile entirely. But it costs, substantial money to bring some of these people in, and really the guys all kind of, we kind of put our money together and bring in these guys that we want to work with. There I am hosting. There's a buddy of mine, Tim Krieger, who used to wrestle with me when we were a lot younger, a lot thinner. So the rules of this match, which is what I'm explaining right now, to the audience that doesn't exist. So the rules are pretty simple, but it can be complicated because there is nothing like this in wrestling, right? So you start off with two men, randomly drawn. Everything is, and it's a shoot. This is all real. We're randomly drawing names, and once we draw the names, we then draw a match type. So after every fall, another person comes in, and the match stipulation will change. So this one started off with Kyle Christopher, and there's usually a sassy remark on the bottom there, usually poking fun of the guy. And you can see the turkey that's hanging there, and then there's a fist that's in the corner that we use as our coal miner's glove, which of course is not a coal miner's glove. It is a toy. And it's really just there so we could just kind of make the same joke over and over about somebody getting fisted. Yes, that's our sophomoric humor that we've had since we started this in 2006. So this match actually started. I would do this match with my action figures. And so this is a match right now between Kyle the Beast and Kyle the Regular. This match concept I actually started when I was playing with my action figures, my Hasbro action figures. When I was younger, like Labor Day, Memorial Day, those days would come up, and there wasn't a whole lot going on. I grew up in New Jersey, so my family would avoid the beach on those weekends because, that's when all the out-of-town people were at the beach. So typically we were home, and, we were lucky enough we had a pool and everything like that. But I was never a big swimmer. I always just wanted to do wrestling stuff. So this one's going to start off as a traditional wrestling match. So regular falls apply. You can get counted out, disqualified, pins or submissions. So yeah, we would, I always wanted to do something special on holidays like that. And so I would do this kind of like a gauntlet match, or I would do a huge 32-man tournament for a new championship or a vacated championship. I always tried to do something special. And this concept, it wasn't called the Turkey Bowl back then, but it started back then. So I would say, 93, 94, 95, I was probably 8 to 11 years old at the time, anywhere within that range. And the name Turkey Bowl actually came from the guy I mentioned earlier who had won the Turkey Bowl 4 times. His name was Travis Lee. He called one of his matches the Turkey Bowl, and I believe it was just a battle royal. But that name always stuck with me, so in 2006 when we decided to do this match for ourselves, that's the name I kind of stuck with. And I don't know if I have the audio up on this as you're watching it, but if you can hear in the background, the commentary is very loose. We're poking fun of the guys in the ring. The people in the ring are actually laughing during this match. It's entirely meant to just be fun and have a good time. You see there, like, whatever Kyle the Regular there in the gold is doing, it's not something you would see in a normal wrestling match because this is designed to to have fun and let loose and just do the stuff that you really can't get away with if there's a crowd there or if there's people there. Or if you have any respect for the business, I guess, also. And yeah. You'll notice we also have a photographer there. We have a ringside person doing video. And we do have a special guest here, which I'll get to in a minute. But, we have photos from these events. This is I believe this was an 8-camera shoot. So there are cameras that are not being used because I have cameras facing the guys as they're watching it, just so we can kind of put that in the bottom corner. So I have video of us actually watching this. I have backstage cameras. I have a camera that's just facing me when I'm hosting it. We have this ringside camera. I have 3 cameras around the ring. I also have one that's kind of doing like a time lapse up in the corner. So it was 8 to 9 cameras filming this event. Once again, that nobody was ever meant to see. So this is the first time outside of the people who were involved in this match that anybody has ever seen this. And I think with good reason. I think there's a reason to that. Kyle the Beast, of course, has been, or KTB, has been sort of making waves. He had an appearance with AEW, I believe, recently. Although time is a fishbowl anymore. And that, look, it just punching him in the butt, something that you really can't get away with on a normal show. And I don't know if the audio's up on this as I'm playing it, but as Kyle was getting swung around there, he literally just said, "I'm flying." And he said it with such excitement. You felt a little bad for him, and also a little happy that he got to fly. So if you're ever fortunate enough, and just to be clear, we have rented buildings just to do this event specifically in the past. This one we didn't actually rent a building. We actually did this right before one of our normal events. So it didn't cost us any extra to be able to do this, as Kyle the Regular, unfortunately, is eliminated in this traditional match. But I mean, if you're ever fortunate, if you have a good roster and you have people who enjoy wrestling as much as you do and can have fun with it, I totally would recommend doing a match like this or an activity like this. It keeps the guys loose. It keeps everything fresh. And it really helps everybody bond and everybody have a good time and not take themselves so seriously. So if you ever have the opportunity to create this kind of an atmosphere or this kind of an event, by all means, please do it. It's not just for you; it's for everybody. One thing I've been told over the years, and there's LA Vin, local legend. So story about that where it says that he once shorted Tito Santana $100 in the Turkey Bowl. So I have a rule, and you've probably, if you're a fan of this channel and have watched it for a long time, I have a rule. This is a turkey on a pole match. The object is you have to take the turkey off the pole, and I'm just realizing now on commentary that that turkey was not mounted very high. You could literally touch it from the ground. You don't have to scale the rope, so that's a little funny. So anyway, going back to what I was saying, I always have a rule about handing the guys the money myself for a show. There was one show where Vin I forget how it happened. Vin had borrowed 100, or we had used 100 for something else. So either way, Vin needed to give me $100, so I just left Tito's envelope minus $100. And I left it open. And I said, "Hey, Vin, just, when Tito gets here, give him this and add the 100 you owe me in there." And so Vin's got his fanny pack that he wears during a show. And then he realized Tito did the turkey bowl, just like everybody else, and Tito left. And then Tito texted me while the turkey bowl's going on, by the way. So he had gotten eliminated, and then he left, and then he was on his way home. That, hey, I was short $100. And we had used Tito a number of times that he knew that we weren't that kind of a company. So I said, "Well, hang on, let me check." And I checked with Vin. I was like, "Vin, did you give him the extra 100 that you owed me?" And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." And then he's going through his fanny pack, and then he finds $100, and he couldn't remember if he gave it to him or not. And he's like, "Oh, dude, I'll tell him I'll send it to him." So anyway, long story short, Vin ended up mailing Tito $150 for his troubles, to kind of cover the mistake we made. But it's literally the only time in my 14-year promoter career that I shorted somebody money, because I triple check every envelope that goes out. So Vin ruined my perfect record, but it's a funny story and one we always joke about to this day. As Vin not only shorted Tito, but he gets the win here on Kyle the Beast as well. And I don't know if it's been visible yet, but actually on the left side of the screen right now, Dominic DeNucci is actually watching this match. So Dominic DeNucci was all over in the territory days, of course. Probably his biggest run was in the WWF. Good friends with Bruno Sammartino, and you can see him there actually. He's in the flannel jacket there. And we actually had the opportunity to talk to him after this whole debacle later on in the night after our real show. We all went out to eat, and we're lucky enough that Dominic came out with us, and we kind of asked him what he thought about the regular show, and he just thought it was a lot of fun. And then we brought up the Turkey Bowl, and then he had I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something to the effect of, "Well, that was less good." But he said it in a joking fashion, and he seemed to really have a good time. And I think at one point they actually make their way over to Dominic and kind of include him in the match, and I think that's coming up pretty soon. But just so cool to have, a real, like, genuine pro wrestling legend in there, watching the show. That's somebody that not only I would have watched growing up, but my parents would have watched if they were wrestling fans. So, you're talking a couple generations deep. And this camera that's facing the ring right now, this is pretty much what Dominic DeNucci's viewpoint of the match was. It was positioned right near him. So this is Sam Shields who's picking up Vin right there. Shields has been a stalwart of many of my promotions over the years. A guy I always go back to. Him along with Chris Rockwell. Vin not even touching the rope on that one. Oh, okay. And you can see even Finnegan having a good time in there, making a joke of it. And again, it's not intended to make a joke of pro wrestling. It's intended to make light of us doing pro wrestling. And I know that's splitting hairs, but I mean, you can see there. And honestly, the spot that Vin is doing here, I know it seems like a goofy comedy spot, but I've seen a number of pro wrestlers do this. Al Snow, I've seen Shane Douglas do that spot. So it's not just comedy that's specific to the Turkey Bowl. It's stuff that I've seen on actual shows before when you actually have a crowd there. And I don't know if you noticed this, but in the background, we don't even have our chairs set up yet for the crowd that's about to arrive. At the time we're taping this, I want to say this is probably close to 6 o'clock, and our show started at 7, and this event usually runs an hour. So I think we started this right around 5:30, so the ring was actually late getting there. They had a problem with their truck, and I actually talked about this before on the channel. So if you're a long-time subscriber here on Indy Wrestling School, you've probably heard this story, but essentially the crew's truck broke down, and the guy called me and said, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, what do you mean, what do I want to do? How is this my problem now? And I still agree with that sentiment. It is my problem ultimately because I'm the promoter, but when you're hiring somebody, they shouldn't make their problem your problem. If I'm having a problem and talent doesn't show up, I can't go to the fans and go, well, what should I do? It doesn't work that way. They're the customer. So anyway, being that it was my problem, I guess, and here comes Shane Douglas. I am a 1,000%, I am a genuine Shane Douglas fan. I have been my entire life, but I am a bigger Shane Douglas fan after getting the privilege of working with him. Getting back to the ring issue, so I ended up running to a U-Haul place, renting a U-Haul, and sending one of our guys to pick up the ring. We had everybody join together and help set up the ring, so it was set up just in time. As soon as it was set up, we started this match, and we rang the bell, and then basically as soon as it ended, we had to throw all those chairs out at ringside and start letting the fans in. It was a really close call for something that's really not meant for monetary gain or anything. This match is exclusively for fun, and we were really down to the wire on it. And there you can see, like, Shane Douglas right there is putting in just as much effort as he would if there was, 300 people, 1,000 people. That's how much this guy cares. And I know I've talked about him a number of times on the channel, but we've had tapings before that we told him, this taping is just for us. It's so our guys can improve. Nobody's ever going to see this. And he sat down and went over the match with two of the guys and spent close to, I want to say, half hour just going over stuff with the match with them, so everything would look good. And that's not something he needs to do at this stage of the game, but it's how much he cares and how much the sport means to him, and you can't help but respect a guy like that. And now they're kind of working over to Dominic's table here, and I believe Shane called this spot where he told Vin to throw him into the table, and you can see how much fun Dominic is really having during this False Count Anywhere match. Even Finnegan cracking up in the background. Shane loves doing that. For whatever reason, he always... when anything lame happens, I'll say, like if he gets hit with something fluffy, or he got hit one year with a plunger, if he gets thrown into like the padding of the building, he'll make the gesture like he's cutting his forehead with a razor. And I think it's really just to pop Finnegan, who's always his referee. But it always gets us, and you can see Vin was even like mimicking it in the background. Reversal. Vin not sure where to go on that one. I mean, just for me, like, I'm such a bigger fan of Shane now than I ever was before I met him, but I was always such a huge Shane Douglas fan. To this day, I will watch, and you have to apologize, like, you can see I'm just totally into this. I'm also doing commentary as well as hosting, so I will do commentary during these shows, but to this day, I'll watch WrestlePalooza 98, which was Shane Douglas versus Al Snow for the ECW title, and I'll watch it once a year at minimum, and I've done it every year since 1998. It's one of my favorite matches, too, and that's it for Vin. Vin says goodbye. Shane checking his pecker. And you can see the nice ambiance that we created with the leaves on the floor, not unlike a traditional New England Thanksgiving. So I'll go back and I'll rewatch a lot of that Shane Douglas stuff, and I still watch the stuff that he did while working for us, because he still delivers. And you'll find that with a lot of wrestling guys, wrestlers, right? Like, as they get older, maybe they do less in the ring, but they put it in different spots where it means more. And the argument was always like, and there's Travis Lee. I've known Travis Lee right here since we were in third grade when I met Travis Lee. He is not a traditional wrestler. He doesn't look like a traditional wrestler. He doesn't bump like a traditional wrestler. But he is one of my favorites, and he's always over with the crowd. You can see there I accidentally... Again, we were very rushed here. I was very rushed going into this, and I accidentally forgot to put one of the rules in in that egg, so I just randomly decided what it would be, and we called it an ECW rules match. So now I'm bringing the weapons in, because once again, everything was rushed. It was very last minute, so we didn't have any of this stuff out at ringside already. So we're all kind of improvising and trying to get there. Finnegan calling for the bell, nobody's delivering on it. And these guys have met in the ring like 10 times. Shane always works with Travis Lee, who is not, again, your traditional wrestler, and does the best he can in there with him, and always makes for a good match. And that's kind of what I was getting to before with Travis Lee, is He's not a traditional wrestler. He's not what you would call technically sound, but for whatever reason, with our crowds, ever since I've been running events, he has been one of the most over guys, whether a heel or most recently a heel, but he was always a babyface for us and just always got over. Always probably like the top of the card level over. But we were always kind of afraid to pull that trigger on him and give him the world title, because he's not that traditional wrestler. And we finally did it about 2 years ago, and it's been nothing but a success for us. So if there's anybody out there who's thinking, this guy's not technically the best wrestler, but the crowd loves him, pull the trigger on that guy. He won't let you down. If it's somebody reliable and he delivers when he's in there and he does the best he can, I say go ahead and pull the trigger, and he won't let you. Like, look at this stuff. Like, he just, like, for me, like, I like this kind of stuff. So if you're a wrestling fan and you're watching this with your mouth wide open and in disgust, I get it. I get it. But for me, these are my friends, and these are people that I book all the time. So for me, it's nice to see this side of them and them having a good time. That is a box of kitty litter. I don't know where that came from, or who brought that inside, but that does not come with the building. So somebody definitely brought that in. And now Travis Lee even stealing Shane's spot with, they call it gigging, using the razor blade on his forehead. Of course, not really. Just pretend with his thumb there. And choking Shane Douglas now. And I mean, you gotta forgive me if there's points here where I'm just kind of watching the match, but again, I think it's important if you're a promoter to but always book guys that you enjoy. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but there's always that thing of, there's always got to be one spot on the show for you, one match that just you want to see. And maybe the crowd wants to see it too, because odds are, you're a wrestling fan, and you kind of probably know what wrestling fans are into. Ref Bob coming in now. We made the switch between him and Finnegan. There's Mr. Ooh La La, one of my favorites. Been a legend on the independent scene for a number of years. Somebody I always wanted to work with, and just in the last couple of years have finally gotten the opportunity to. So this for me was a real dream scenario. One of my buddies. Again, I've known Travis Lee since we were in third grade. We used to get the PWI magazines, and we used to read the results of these independent cards and these smaller shows that were not WWF. I never followed WCW, so like I was closer to the independents, and although I never had really been to independent shows, I would always follow it. And one of the names I always would see was Mr. Ooh La La, Ace Darling, the Cheetah Master, all those kind of names. And so for me, like, you have to understand, like, as a promoter, it's cool to be able to create this scenario where a guy that me and Travis Lee were talking about in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, he's now in the ring with. And the same goes for, obviously, Shane Douglas and, all the names that Tito Santana and stuff like that Travis Lee's gotten to work with over the years. But, like, just on, I guess, a more regional scale, somebody like Ooh La La, like, this is really cool. And to me, it was a really fun match. Again, I'm doing double duty. I don't know if you see me in the background. I'm running around checking cameras to make sure cameras are still recording. So there's a lot to do when you're in charge, right? Like, if you are commentating, you still need to make sure that your production's going smooth, and that you're not leaving the commentary booth unmanned, and there's still people there. And if you're also being the host, you need to be in that spot at the right time. So there was a lot of running around, and I definitely got a workout doing this. But it's this once a year thing that we love doing so much, and it's so much fun. And when we're doing this, there's no place you'd rather be as a wrestling fan than a fun show like this. And I think the deal here, I have the volume down a little bit, so I didn't hear. But Ooh La La was saying he was going to make him say "I quit," and then in doing so, he accidentally said "I quit." So he's eliminated at this point. Travis Lee advanced. So the story I wanted to tell here, we had a guy a couple years ago who had shoulder surgery, and it was actually, he had like a cut or something on his back, so he couldn't take any bumps. So he did the Turkey Bowl, and he started the first, I want to say he beat like the first 8 guys in the Turkey Bowl without taking a single bump, because he couldn't really bump, and then he finally was eliminated. So I wanted, once I saw that Travis Lee was in here reasonably early, I wanted him to break the record of how many people he's beaten. And that was kind of the story. Once I kind of lined it up and figured there was enough people left that he could do it, I wanted him to kind of to get there. Now the question is, I might want him to get there. Does he have enough gas in the tank to get there? And that's kind of where you have to make the decision as you're booking something like this, because it's all drawn out of a hat essentially. Is he able to keep going? Because you don't want the whole match to suffer if this guy's sucking wind, and you're working with a bunch of different guys. Everybody's coming in fresh, so you have to make that call. So you'll see, and I'll highlight exactly when I made that call and where I made that call, if and when he does get eliminated, because I think that's an important thing to know as a booker. And now, so these two have had a history. So we've done like all these kind of angles where Travis Lee has slept with this guy who dressed like, had the peacock mask on. He slept with his wife, and it was this real personal, like over the top storyline that was a lot of fun for us. So these two have had a history. They've probably wrestled each other more than any 2 other people in the ring tonight. I would say they've probably had over 50 matches over the years, and a number of them have been big time matches. Big time meaning like our big events, right? So that they've always done some cool stuff. They actually had one match where both of them together worked Tatanka, so that was kind of cool. And that was another cool thing for me, because I know that Travis Lee's 10th birthday was ruined when on his birthday, Tatanka's winning streak, who at the time Tatanka was his favorite wrestler, and on his birthday, Tatanka's winning streak was ended by Ludwig Borga on his birthday. And so for him to be in the ring with Tatanka, which was just about 2 years ago, I guess closer to 3 years ago at this point. And this one's an over the top match, and the guy in the green, who's on the outside right now, his gimmick has been over the years that he's notoriously bad at battle royals, and that's been because we would always force him out of the ring anytime we did a battle royal. So he is trying desperately not to get eliminated. And there he goes. Travis Lee looking around now. Did we use the turkey? Yeah, we used the turkey already, so now we still have the coal miner's glove match. So that'll happen at some point. And that little carousel on the outside was pretty expensive, but that was one of those things that Vin wanted ever since watching the early years of the Royal Rumble, where they would draw names out of it. So we actually used that for our 50-50 raffle on the shows. So everybody who buys a 50-50, we put their tickets in there, and at the end of the night after the main event or right before the main event, we'll draw the winner from that little carousel thing. I forget what it's called. He has a name for it. And there's Jihad. Jihad, actually, we accidentally hit his wrong music, so the music that he's coming out to does not fit his character at all. And that's because I was not on music at the time. So this was what's called a chairs match. It's really like we just had, over the years, this event has just grown to include more and more people. I think the first time we ever did it, we had 8 to 10 people, and I think this year might have topped out, this specific year, 18 or 20 people. So we started running out of matches because there's only, you can't throw up a cage in the middle of this match. So yeah, we just created what we call a chairs match, and we're just putting chairs on the outside there. And what's bad about this is those chairs are plastic and they don't make a good noise. They don't look like they're gonna hurt, but for whatever reason, they hurt way worse than your normal metal chairs. And it sucks because there's no payoff. Like, it just doesn't look good. I think these guys end up doing a lot of what we call gaga, which is, the funny spots and comedy and stuff like that. Because I think at this point, Jihad realized that Travis Lee was in there for a little bit and wanted to kind of help him out. And, one quick way, other than doing rest holds, is comedy spots. That's one way you can kind of help your opponent get back and get his wind back. The other way is having somebody in there with good cardio, but we are not that fortunate, so... And Travis Lee just pulling back on Jihad's hair there. And you can see I accidentally, as I'm talking about this and kind of doing the behind the scenes or watch along or whatever we want to call this, I kind of slip back into that commentary mode every once in a while, but just because that's sort of what I'm used to when it comes to these matches. So if I slip back and just start calling moves and talking about the storylines, please forgive me. It's just by default that's my nature. And I think this was supposed to be a play on those hardcore matches where two guys will put the chairs down and then they'll just start throwing punches. But instead they're doing rock, paper, scissors. I can't hear the words, so I don't know what the setup for this was and if it was funny or not. But I remember having a good time, so I'm going to say it was. So I think Travis Lee just lost the rock, paper, scissors. Or they tied it. I'm not aware. And he's getting that clap going. But you can see at this point, it looks like Travis Lee is good to go again. He's renewed. He should be strong going forward. So, another tie. Oh, it's getting tense. It is getting tense. Oh, Jihad, I think, just defeated Travis Lee in the rock, paper, scissors, which has no bearing on the match itself. I guess that just means he's going to get chopped first, or slapped first. All right. And you can see it was a gentle slap, and it was nothing to go home about. I like the rope colors for this one. It's kind of got that festive Thanksgiving kind of vibe with the orange, the white, and the black there. That's kind of cool. I mean, it's the least they could do, right? We had to get a U-Haul to get the damn ring there, so they could put some cool rope colors up for us. Oh, shades of Sabu. Just not as quick. Oh, alright. Sometimes ideas go differently in your head than how they're executed, and that's the end of Jihad in this one. As Travis Lee advances with another name and another match stipulation. So if you see there's a banner there in the background that says World 1 Wrestling, one of the questions I get asked often enough is, what's the, and you can see my jacket says it too, what is your promotion name and where can we find it and all that stuff. And I've said before this is the spot I always love to do. I always like to throw a referee in here, just as a comedy spot. I usually will do it in a battle royal. I always think if you're doing a battle royal with a Royal Rumble style entrance, it's always funny if the referee has to go in. It's cool if they eliminate one person. The crowd always loves it. So this is the first year I did it with the referee entering the Turkey Bowl, and it was Ref Bob. So it's a body slam match, and he doesn't even know what he's doing. So he's got no chance in this one. But I was mentioning before the World 1 banner in the background there. So yeah, I do get asked fairly regularly on this channel, what's your promotion name? Where can we find it? Where can we watch your shows? And I have discussed it in the past, and my feeling is this channel is not for me to promote my wrestling show on. I feel like that would be an unfair use, because nobody here is subscribing to this channel to watch my show necessarily, right? they're kind of wanting to see what it's like to be a promoter, or some of the tips or tricks or whatever, for being a wrestling promoter. So I don't generally promote any of the shows I do, but yeah, World One Wrestling is one company I run. The other is ECWA, which is the longest running independent wrestling promotion in the United States. It started in 1967. It was originally started by Jim Kettner. He sold it in early or late 2009 to Mike Tartaglia, and then a couple years ago, Mike Tartaglia sold to us. So yeah, so that's the other promotion I'm running. Right now, I'm pretty much just focused on ECWA, but there is the potential of doing another World One event in the near future. Mike Law here, who has actually been featured on this channel, believe it or not. I did a video where I talked about wrestling tights, and I used a photo of his that had all his different like outfits and his ring gear and stuff like that for my thumbnail. And then he also was part of the viral video that I don't know if I released that video or not, or if that's coming out, but I have a video on how to make a viral video in wrestling, and he actually was the guy who dove out of the ring and threw a chair, which just blew up on the internet. And there's a whole story behind that. So if you haven't watched that video, I would suggest doing so. If it's not out yet, it will be out in the next coming weeks, if not next week. I just don't know when this video will actually go live. And you can see Travis Lee firing up with some karate moves. And Mike Law with the waist, like, oh, here we go. It was funny because we talked about this afterwards, Travis Lee and I. And Mike Law's a great wrestler. He's always been great on the show. But Travis Lee was like, was Mike Law shooting on me? And I told him no. I think he was just trying to do all the work so you could kind of get your breath back. And Travis Lee was like, oh, no, I was fine after the whole thing with Jihad. But I was actually more blown up from having to do all this than... So Mike Law unintentionally blew up Travis Lee. Not meaning to, but just like a shoot fighter for whatever reason. And just trash talking the camera the entire time. You can see that Travis Lee has no clue how to get out of this. Mike Law, great punches, man. Great punches. Karate. Yep, Travis Lee has exhausted his entire moveset, I think, at this point. So he's digging down deep in his arsenal and pulling out karate. Oh, okay, butt bump. And Dominic DeNucci over there just talking to my friend's dad, actually, who was literally lived next door to me when I was a kid. So I've known that guy since I was 3 years old. Yeah, and he's just marking out big time because Dominic DeNucci was one of the guys who was on TV when he was a wrestling fan, years ago. So it's really cool to see somebody like Dominic really bridge those gaps. The guy's dad, his JD Luscious's dad, and he wouldn't know Stone Cold or The Rock, and that's kind of who we grew up on. And I'm sure he knows Hulk Hogan, but that's not who he was a fan of. So you kind of have that bridging of the generations there, and it's really interesting to see. And then on top of it, he's gonna be sitting there talking to Dominic DeNucci while his son gets in the ring. How cool is that? I don't know. It's just you really have to think about that stuff and really put it in perspective every once in a while. The other funny thing, I don't know if you saw in the title, when Mike Law came out, we actually found out that his shirt was a women's shirt. Because, yeah, I think they're referencing it right now. They ran out of smalls or whatever size Mike Law was, and so he needed to get a women's shirt. They needed to get him a women's shirt so it would fit him. And so it's whatever, it's a women's medium or a women's large. But yeah, he's just realizing it now, and we neglected to tell him until until he got in the ring, of course. I think that was technically a knockout, so I guess this was I don't know, like an MMA style match, maybe. And then maybe that's probably why Mike Law was shooting on him and doing all that kind of offense. Submission-based offense. I'm trying to explain to somebody what they need to be doing in a sarcastic tone. And you can see there is actually people arriving here for the show that's going to take place in about 20 minutes. There's a full-fledged show about to happen. Greg Spitz, another fantastic guy that I use all the time. Just a tremendous heel, always gets over. Totally understands the audience, and everybody's with him all the time. But yeah, like you can see from doing this for the last 14 years, I think 13 years at this point, as of this taping, it was 13 years, and there's really a calm that comes along with running shows so consistently. Nobody's freaking out. Nobody's worried about the show that's coming up in, like I said, less than 20 minutes. You know, we have 20 minutes to finish this Turkey Bowl, to get all the chairs out, and then we're starting a live professional wrestling show, and nobody is stressed about it. Everybody's having fun. Everybody's taking their time, and that's the way wrestling should be. That's the way wrestling can be. So I absolutely think it should be. Oh, I think that might be the end of Greg Spitz here. Was this a finishing moves match? I didn't catch the... too busy rambling. I'm not paying attention here. Yeah, so I guess Travis Lee's finisher is that kind of axe kick, and that just eliminated Greg Spitz. So one of my roles, I guess, is not just to introduce the person, but to kind of tell the story as I'm introducing, because there is quite a story. And the story here that has worked out well is... that's the guy right there, J.D. Luscious, who I was talking about before. That's his dad watching in the background. He was talking to Dominic DeNucci, who he grew up watching. And the other story that's running is J.D. Luscious is the guy with the record holder. And Travis Lee has tied the record at this point. And in order to beat the record of most people defeated inside the Turkey Bowl, he has to beat the current record holder, which is J.D. Luscious. And I just love that stuff works out like this. And the truth is, it didn't actually work out like this. There was somebody else who was called... J.D. Luscious was called right before this, and I instead pulled a different name and then used J.D. Luscious for this spot because it was just too perfect. I couldn't pass up that opportunity once I realized how close he was to that record. So if he's able to beat J.D. Luscious here, he will surpass his record. However, J.D. Luscious has the opportunity to block that attempt, and that'll send us into another year of waiting to see if anybody's able to defeat J.D. Luscious's record of victories in the Turkey Bowl. So this of course was filmed in November of 2019. We did not do a Turkey Bowl in 2020 with everything going on. It never worked out. I don't know if you saw, but we actually have a Turkey Bowl belt. And this Turkey Bowl started in a backyard. We were doing backyard shows in 2006. So I have 2 more Turkey Bowls I can do. I'd like to do them both on the same day. And I would like at least one of them to be held outdoors. Because I just love that. If you've ever wrestled as a kid, wrestling outside in that fall weather with the wind picking up, the little chill in the air, the sound of the crunching leaves, it is absolutely my favorite. It puts me back to my childhood, and I want nothing more than to have our final Turkey Bowl be held outdoors somewhere. So that's my goal, and that's my vision. We'll see if we're able to make that happen, but Travis Lee actually looks like he's not sucking wind too hard there for being in there as long as he has. You don't realize the amount of cardio that you need to have when doing wrestling. It's kind of crazy because you're really using all these muscles that you don't realize, or there's no way to exercise. You can't really go to a gym, fall on your back, and get up 5 times in a row. You know what I mean? Like, I guess you could, but you'd get some weird looks. and for anybody who's asked, I have gotten this question quite often, like, what's with the green carpet? It's not a carpet. This is a baseball arena, so they do indoor baseball. So that's actually like a almost like a fake AstroTurf kind of feel to it. So it's actually not too bad to land on. I mean, I wouldn't recommend jumping out of the ring and landing on it like JD Luscious just did, but it's definitely better than landing on solid concrete, which is exactly what's underneath it. The other problem with that AstroTurf or whatever it is, it has these like black pebbles in it that are, I guess, almost made to mimic dirt, but you get these things all inside your shoes. So coming home from anytime we're at any of these events, as soon as I get home, first thing I do is dump my shoe out with all these black pebbles in it. Travis Lee going up top with that coal miner's glove. Once again, not an actual coal miner's glove. And I don't even know if a coal miner's glove is a thing. I know what they did with the Jake Roberts match in WCW years ago, but to me that glove did not look super impressive. I always thought the big giant fist would look cooler. And we actually did a couple years ago where we like put all glitter on it and everything to kind of make it look like it had jewels and gems and, you know, remnants of all that stuff on it. And really, as soon as somebody hit somebody else with it, it just shot glitter everywhere. It was just a mess. So we just decided to go with just the straight fist and just keep making fisting jokes over and over, because our humor is very sophomoric. So this is the guy who had won the Turkey Bowl. Or no, he came close. He was in there in the finals with Shane Douglas last year, but he was not able to do it. And this is actually, okay, so this is a three-way dance, though. And I believe this is the last match in the Turkey Bowl, so I just realized as I'm trying to walk away, I had to call another name. I don't know if you see the back of my head there. I have an interesting story about that maybe I'll share on one of these shows. I have this giant scar in the back of my head there, right where my my hairline part is. It's from actually being in this building. I got hit by Travis Lee, who's in the ring right now, with a ukulele. So maybe I'll share that story on here one day. I think that might be kind of fun to revisit. And there's Chris Rockwell, who has been somebody I use fairly often. Rico DMF is the guy's name. He wrestled as Abs Armstrong. Has always been one of my go-to guys since we were wrestling in a backyard in, I think I met him in 2000 or 2001. So it was really Rico, the guy with the shiny black pants with the painted on abs, and I, who kind of got together. He had a little, I'll call it a federation for lack of a better term, and I had a federation for lack of a better term, and we kind of merged those two together. We're able to get on TV, and then through TV, the people who ended up training me found me and offered to train me and one of my other friends, and we started training. And then from there, we were able to get a ring and train my friends. And then years passed, and we were able to start running shows professionally, and it all happened from meeting the guy in the ring right there, which is goes by Rico DMF in this match. He also goes by Abs Armstrong. And then you have Rockwell, who was one of my main people that I would push on my shows. He was the World 1 champion for 7 years. He held that belt. He defended it against pretty much every ECW veteran you could think of, from Sabu, Stevie Richards, C.W. Anderson, Rhino, Steve Corino. I mean, just pretty much everybody who was anybody in ECW. We had him run through as the champion, and held that belt for, like I said, 7 years before he lost it. Back rake, of course. And you'll notice that Rockwell's shirt is not yellow like everybody else's. It's black and then it's white instead of the yellow. And we never really got a clear reason why that was. Although now that I think about it, he and I are the same shirt size, and I was the only one who had a white shirt, if I remember correctly. And I've never been able to find mine since this event. So it's clear to me as I'm watching this that he stole my shirt, and I'm just realizing it now. Oh, whatever. It ended up peeling, and it probably doesn't have any words on it anymore at this point. Rico spending some time talking to us at ringside. Oh, there you go. I love that the guys in the back are selling it just as much as the people on camera, if not more, honestly. Oh, this was a move we invented when we were doing a show that never aired anywhere. It was a neck snap that he would do when he was playing a character named Roswell the Magnificent. And I actually really love the leaves on the ground. I know it seems like such a stupid touch, but for me, it puts us one step closer to that outdoor vision. And you can see right there, there's actually a line going out the door for people waiting to come in right now. Because we are over time at this point. You know, we're normally opening the doors at 6:30, and it's probably about 6:45 at this point, maybe 6:50, and we have, just moments to put up chairs and let people in and make the show happen. It should be worth noting, and it's an important note if you're an upcoming promoter or a want-to-be promoter. Starting on time is so important, and I want to note that we 100% started on time. The show started, we were still putting out chairs, but the show started at 7 p.m. as it was advertised, and that's one of my big sticking points as a wrestling promoter. Make sure you start on time. Make sure you don't go overtime. Nobody wants to sit there for a 3+ hour show. They just don't. That's great if you're at home and you can sit down and kind of watch at your leisure, but no fan wants to sit in an uncomfortable chair, or even if it's a comfortable chair, surrounded by a bunch of people for 3 hours. It's not doable. At the most, your show should be 2.5 hours, in my opinion, and I usually try to keep it to 2 hours, and at the high end, 2 hours and 15 minutes. So those are just my takes. Obviously, if you're a wrestling promoter, you do what works for you, but I found that anytime we've run long, the crowd is not with it, and they start disappearing for that main event. So anytime we run a 2-hour show, they're there the entire time, and they're with the show the entire time. They're in every segment, they're involved, and they are participating. You can see now the line that was forming there has kind of been pushed back. We had to send somebody over there and tell them, hey, get everybody out of here. We need a couple more minutes, and we're wrapping up right now. And then, of course, Rockwell makes the comeback and then dies for one more, just slowing down to put the pressure on all of us to have to set up chairs a little bit quicker as this match is winding down. But I hope you enjoyed this kind of walkthrough and what it was like doing a show like this. Like I said, this is one of my favorite things we get to do every year. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to get everybody engaged and build that camaraderie amongst your locker room. And it's just something I unfortunately we weren't able to do it in 2020. And I think if we had, I would have regretted it. I think it would have been too rushed, too forced, and it just wasn't the year to do it. I'm hoping this year we're able to work something out, but I also don't want to push it because we've done this. This was the 10th one, and every single year was better than the last, and I want to keep it that way. So you can see the genuine shock. He did not expect to win this. This is the first time he's won this particular match, and that'll pretty much do it for this one. So again, I hope everybody enjoyed this, and I hope everybody who runs a wrestling show gets to build a locker room like this. Build this kind of atmosphere and have this much fun, because at the end of the day, that's what I think everybody wants out of pro wrestling. Whether you're a promoter, a booker, a fan, a wrestler, I think everybody just wants to get in there and have some fun, and do it for as long as you possibly can. Thanks for checking out this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please beat the shit out of the like button, and we'll see you next week for 3 Minute Thursday.